Well, it looks like I've started just a little bit late. I hope you don't mind. I hope everybody's there. Um, Here we are starting our first installment of me reading My Life with the Spirits. And I guess we'll call ourselves the Fraternal Order of Sequestered Mystics, or FOOMS. But anyway, we're going to meet every day this time. And I've threatened to read this entire book, and by golly, I'm going to give it a shot. I hope everybody's listening and watching. And if not, I think it'll remain on my page, and you can listen to it anytime you want. Here's the book. My Life with the Spirits. It's one of the first books I've in my little portfolio. It was first published in 1999. I wrote it somewhere along the lines of 1997 or so. And of course, it's dedicated to my son, Jean-Paul Lafayette, who might indeed be watching from his home in Macau, China at the moment. There are 27 very short chapters, and we'll take at least one chapter an episode, and hopefully sometimes even maybe two of them. So I'm going to start right off with the prologue, Sons of the Desert. I'm doing this sort of like a clapboard, okay? First of all, I had a little note that said I've changed the names of many of the individuals who appear in My Life with the Spirits in order to respect and maintain their privacy. I have not, however, attempted to invent or consolidate characters for the sake of literary convenience. So I hope everybody's hearing me okay. Prologue. Sons of the Desert. It was 31 years ago this morning, February 26th, 1967. I was 18 years old and my brother Mark was 24. We sat atop one of the monstrous boulders that are heaped like petrified dinosaur droppings across California's Mojave Desert and watched the moon bury itself in western sands. 180 degrees away, the eastern horizon split in a lewd and blood-red invocation of the sun. Shortly before this celestial orgy, we shared a mystic feast of far too much LSD and vowed in deadly earnest that we would not return from the wilderness until we were holy men. Daybreak found us shish kebabbed to death, flat on our backs, emitting short grunts and giggles. We were shish kebabbed by the sun and moon's perfect opposition. It would be an understatement to say we were naive, but we were not entirely green behind the psychedelic ears. Between the two of us, we've had at least 24 carefully programmed trips under our belts. In our pitiful way, we were serious seekers. We followed the setting guide procedures outlined by Doctors Leary and Alpert and crammed the days and weeks between our sessions with healthy doses of Eastern mysticism and spiritual practices. Nothing, however, could have prepared us for Judgment Day at Joshua Tree. By mid-afternoon, we had blithely paddled our souls up the rivers of our genetic ancestry, stood at the very hub of eternity and stared with wagging jaws down the orbiting spokes of all possible possibilities. It was the most deafening of unspoken truths. We would never leave the desert. Wherever we would go, whatever we would do from that point forward would take place in the desert. Our frenzied hike back to my old VW bus was a stumbling ordeal of Odyssean scale, complete with horrifying labyrinths of dry washes and box canyons, a blinding sandstorm, and the sadistic laughter of the spirits of our own tormented childhoods. The 2-hour drive back to Costa Mesa was uneventful except for occasional highway encounters with desert skeletons returning home from church in their pickup trucks. Once home, we immediately sought dark refuge in the smoky coolness of the Buccaneer, the only bar in town that would occasionally ignore the fact that I was a minor and serve me beer. That evening, no one questioned my age. I looked a million years old. The beers didn't help. We were still very high. The zebra-striped walls of the little saloon dripped down to the floor like melting wax, and the pores of the bartender's nose were so big I could walk inside them. Then from nowhere, I received a revelation. Not a cosmic vision about DNA or the nature of light and time, but a surprisingly normal idea. It became very clear to me that I must marry Constance, my high school sweetheart, in Nebraska. That's all there was to it. I converted a few dollar bills into coins, an act of torturous complexity that seemed to require many days. And I shuffled to the old black payphone near the pinball machine. I closed one eye and plugged the emptiness of zero with my blue-green fingertip and spun the clicking wheel of fortune. I pleaded with the operator to help me place a call to Nebraska. Constance answered. After a few moments of attempting to communicate with my hands, I managed to identify myself. She sounded very happy to hear from me. After all, it was her birthday. I couldn't believe the cosmic coincidence, but I concealed the fact that I didn't have a clue it was her birthday. Then I came out and said it. Would you like to get married? It was the smartest thing I would ever do. After a short pause, she said, yes. It was the stupidest thing she had ever done. We've been married for 30 years. Well, that's when this book was written. We've been married 52 years now. And what about the sons of the desert? Did we really become holy men? After a violent decade of political radicalism, arrests, alcohol and drug abuse, and 2 wives, Brother Mark transformed into the very model of an Eastern aesthetic. A Sant Mat devotee, satsangi of the Radhaswami order, he practices the strict disciplines of that august sect, a combination of Hindu yoga and Sikh mysticism. He wears a huge untrimmed beard and travels each year to the Punjab region of northern India to labor and meditate at his master's ashram. Back home, he's a chemical dependence counselor whose clients worship at the altar of his wit and wisdom. He's happily married to a beautiful and saintly woman, one of the most gifted psychics in the world, also a satsangi. Yes, I would say Brother Mark is a holy man. And I'm very respectful of the spiritual direction his life has taken. I have no doubts that is his way. It certainly rescued him from an early grave, and his conversion made Southern California a less dangerous place to live. My life, on the other hand, took a dramatically different turn. So different, in fact, that many people, perhaps even my brother, believe my chosen path to be patently evil. It's true. I've scorned and rejected the faith of my fathers. I invoke and worship strange and terrible gods. I summon devils and hold congress with angels, spirits, and demons. But does it naturally follow that these pursuits are spiritual transgressions that bar me from the fellowship of holy ones? In this little book, I search for an answer to that question. I hope the reader will appreciate the fact that I've departed from the textbook format of some of my earlier works on magic and have nestled a great deal of technical information within the narratives of my own experiences. The first chapters are filled with much autobiographical material. Please forgive me if such memoirs seem at first irrelevant to the subject of magic. I assure you they are not. I firmly believe that in order for us both to understand what I do, it will first be necessary to understand who I am and where I came from. Magic is an art. As much an art as painting or music or dance. To understand and appreciate the artist's portfolio, it's helpful, perhaps even essential, to know something of the character and motivations that drive him or her to produce a body of work. I'm a practitioner of the black art, or so it's been called for the last 2,000 years. I'm a spiritual craftsman. I fashion my creations from thought and dream and will. No easel can suffer the subtle burden of such elements. They must be splashed against the canvas of my own soul. It's no more possible to gaze directly upon these objects of art than it is to look upon the essence of my being. The most that can be done is to study the shadows they cast upon my memory. For my Silhouette studio, I've been graciously allowed the tissue-thin pages of this book. The reader may wish to start at the beginning of the exhibition or leisurely wander the halls at random. I hope you enjoy your visit and will come away with a greater appreciation of your own life as a magical artist. The gallery doors are now open, and the images of light and darkness that hang from the walls are the intangible tales of my life with the spirits. And tomorrow at the same time, I'll try not to be late tomorrow. Tomorrow at the same time, we'll continue. Thank you all very much. Be safe. Don't shake hands. Wash your hands a lot. Wear your masks and gloves. Stay in. Let's be cozy together. And we're all in this together. And we'll all get through this together. Thanks very much. Do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will. Bye.